I'm Mike Bedard with Cinema Singularity, and today I'm with the writer and director and two of the stars of the new film Mermaid here at South by Southwest. So, how are y'all doing? How are you enjoying South by?
Great
Love
so
it.
far.
It's been great.
Just got here, and
Yeah.
it's been good.
So, I loved Mermaid. It's fucking wild.
Thank you.
And I have to ask, the movie begins with the caption, "A Love Letter to Florida." So, this is a question for all of you. What's your favorite experience in Florida, whether it was filming this movie or something else?
I think overall now, for me, it was making this movie because I grew up there and I grew up very close to this beach, and I think that it was just very special to go back and do this. It was a full circle moment. It had been like 16 years since I had been there, and I was trying to make it a love letter sort of to where I grew up. So to me, it was 100% the movie. It was just very cool. Just in general, I have so many specific stories within making it, but overall, it's just a lifelong. It was amazing.
Mm-hmm. Being in Florida was too real as a mermaid, I think. But it was helpful to be in the heat and be in the environment. Like everything was my reality as the mermaid, which really helped. So my love letter was like having the most real experience as a creature that people think is not real. So
Yeah, I'm the same with Tyler. Like, filming down there was my favorite experience in Florida ever. I went to college down there. Before this movie, I would say my favorite experience was being at a house party and meeting a guy named Rob who was trying to sell me ecstasy, but also offered to take me alligator
there
hunting.
you go.
And so that was pretty cool. I did not go alligator hunting with Rob.
Did you do ecstasy, or is that?
No, I didn't do anything he offered. But
You just said no.
I took his number down, and then I think I fell asleep because he was like, "We got to go out here." Weird accent. He was like, "Do you want some funny bones, some biscuits, biscuits, some more rocks?"
Little New Orleans.
I think maybe,
Yes.
yeah, honestly.
Yeah.
But he
He's a
was
bayou boy.
alligator hunter named Rob. I did not do that though.
Tyler, your film Butt Boy, which I feel like is also very funny and also very emotional and heart-wrenching, similar to Mermaid. How do you go about threading that needle of incorporating humor with the tragedy in both the screenwriting and directing process?
This is gonna sound corny. I think that's actually who I am. I think it's those two things where I think that's kind of all I have to offer when it comes to film. But I just love that dichotomy of I like drama and I like flirting with the line of this is real. Is this really happening? It's a little bit larger than life. It's a little bit too funny. Now we gotta dial it back. Now I like the line right in between there. And with emotion, I just love emotion in films. I'm a giant Titanic fan. You know, I love Titanic, and I love.
I wouldn't have guessed that from you just watching some of your films. But
You would? Oh, you wouldn't have? No, yeah. I mean, I love, I love that stuff. I mean, come
Tyler's
on.
taste is sometimes surprisingly basic.
Yeah.
But it's cool though. I think that's what
Yeah,
makes
yeah,
the
yeah.
movie so great.
And I love the balance of that stuff, and I like, I guess with this one and Butt Boy even, it's like, I think I want people to be surprised that they're feeling emotionality when they watch it. Like this was so stupid. Like how did the film get me? I'm surprised that it got me, you know? And I'm always like looking for that, so.
He also walks this line, I think like a ridge, where if you stray from the ridge at all, it gets too dark, or if you go the other direction, it's too slapsticky. But Tyler's stuff always walks this, it's insanely narrow, and only he can navigate it.
That's nice, Johnny.
that's amazing, yeah.
I'll take it.
I think I read an interview where you described making Butt Boy as wanting to make the longest running fart joke. What was the inspiration for Mermaid?
This one was more personal for me because I grew up there. I think I've always wanted to make a mermaid movie, which is weird to say. But I've also always wanted to make a Florida man movie. So, you know, it's just kind of combining these different things. You have so many different ideas. And I had access to this location, this house, and these settings. And, you know, when you're making indie films, that's often what you look for. You're like, oh, we could film there for cheap. It literally comes down to that. And, and just beach movies in general, it's kind of just percolating. And I always just thought, Florida man finding a mermaid is funny. It sounds like the Florida Man headlines. And it was just an opportunity to make it sort of, you know, it's all these different Florida characters, make the most Florida movie ever. And I don't know, it's in my roots, and it wasn't like a, it's hard to explain. I guess I just felt like this makes complete sense to do. That's kind of what the feeling was. It was just, it makes no sense to anybody else, but it's just like, yeah, this is kind of my soul in a way. I grew up here, yeah. I don't know if that answered it, but.
It answered it perfectly.
Okay.
It's like 100% top-notch job answering.
Okay, I'll take it.
Avery, you've kind of done creature effects before with Pizza Panic Party.
Which is great.
I love that movie. Was there any special preparation going into Mermaid, especially because in Pizza Panic, you at least get a chance to talk a little bit, but here it's all physicality. What kind of preparation went into that?
Yeah. Once I realized that I didn't have any like words to say, I was like relieved. It's like great. But then there was a lot of like noises and sounds I had to make. That's where I was like, oh, what the fuck is gonna come out of me? Like I don't know what I'm supposed to do. So I really didn't practice anything. Like I just trusted my gut and I knew what I needed to do, but when there was like a sound needed or some sort of physicality that was needed, it was hard for me to think of practicing it because then it didn't feel real to me. So I would kind of just go for it all full out, like when it was time to film. And then I'd be like, is that good? Like, are we good? Just because when I would practice it, I would be judging myself too much, or I would be in my head on something that like, I can't decide what it's supposed to be.
But it was always great. It was always great.
Amazingly so. It was
thank
always
you.
Yeah, it was always, like, that's why I didn't have to tell you that much, because I was just
Thanks.
like, no, maybe just do that again, or try something different, and we have different things. So.
Yeah, so the preparation was more of like sitting in the chair and like just having to digest like everything being on me, and then once I was in costume, like that was my prep time of like meditating, feeling her, and just like letting myself kind of be quiet without talking or like being Avery in costume. Like sometimes it'd be fun to try to be Avery in a human when I'm like, hey Johnny, have the makeup without like the makeup on, like we
Right,
never like, saw
crafty,
each other,
eating,
right?
that was always fun.
Or yeah, always having to like eat a burger with claws or something.
Gosh.
So the prep time was really quiet, and then I just allowed myself to go full force.
Also, people don't realize Avery had to be in a bathtub for so many hours just
And
sitting
like
there.
half wet but half dry, and
Yeah.
then when the tail is wet, it's just heavier because it's like all silicone. But that was the most comfortable I'd say. I think out of everything else was sitting because I could just hang there.
You were definitely cooler.
So wasn't
at
that?
times.
Yeah,
We got the temp right.
yeah. The temperature was good
Yeah.
in the tub.
Need that. I think my favorite scene is when Doug and the mermaid are just kind of like lying in bed, and Doug's just like getting into all this like
That-
introspective details, and the mermaid's just like zonked out.
Yeah.
Johnny, you usually play like comedic characters, I feel like, and Doug has a lot of funny moments. He's also very tragic. Were there any characters in other media or just inspiration you look toward to kind of inform your character?
Gosh, I don't know. I think there's a lot of different stuff. Man, I'm trying to think of. I don't think there's one specific thing. It was more just really the whole experience of being zonked on drugs, like the idea. I mean, I've had a pretty significant medical history in terms of like having to be in the hospital and stuff, and being on a lot of heavy sedation. And it's like you think about how you feel then, and you're in this weird spot where you're not really feeling anything, but you're still alive. And I think with Doug, it's like that thing where that was definitely the hardest thing to do. We unluckily had the first week of production was just Tyler and I doing a lot of small pieces where it's just Doug, and so we got to find just the kind of the physicality of him, which is I always start with physicality of a character, and he's so still and so and he doesn't look around a lot. He's just very very slow and smooth and still and focused. And once I found that, then it was easy. Everything came from there. So yeah, I don't think there's anyone specific I was thinking about, but yeah, kind of an amalgamation of a couple different characters.
And just finally, for all of you, if you were to stumble upon a monstrous mermaid, what would your reaction be on a scale of caring for it and eating it?
Oh man. Well, first of all, I would say this is extremely ironic because I made a movie about
Yeah.
this. I think I would care for it. I'd probably tell more people about it than Doug did. I'd spread the word.
Win the lottery. You got it.
Not sell it or anything bad, but I would just let it be known that I've made a scientific discovery. You know.
Historic.
I would call Tyler and ask him, how come you didn't call me for Mermaid too? see one. I love these. I got so obsessed with fish. I really got interested in it because, yeah, it's so fascinating. It's the kind of thing where if you saw something like that, like obviously it's a mermaid, so it looks super crazy, but there's things out there that look so weird. A lot of people who aren't used to the ocean will film stuff like, this is a crazy extraterrestrial. Like, no, it's just a weird fish, man. It's just a weird fish. There's so many weird things out there. That's why the mermaid stuff is so interesting, because it's almost plausible that there could be a thing that looks like that.
It is
And
possible.
then having to do that.
Yeah.
Like, seeing all these weird fish and being like, how do they do that? And how do I do this? Was a great question. But I would definitely care for it. I think
We only know 5% of what's out there in the
Right.
ocean.
Well, I feel like it's coming out, or at South by at the perfect time. I don't know if any of you are on TikTok, but the anglerfish that made its way to the
yeah.
surface and
Yes.
saw the sun, and everyone loved it, and was just like, it's this anglerfish that's been depressurized, but people do have a soft spot. So I think that does speak well of humanity. That they can see and want to care for this monstrous undersea creature.
Yeah, we'll take it.
Well, thank you so much for your time today and for speaking with me. Love the movie. Can't wait for everyone else to see it.
Thank you very
Thank you so
much.
much.
Appreciate it.